Hello, everyone. Hello.
Adiós, Tata.
Y aparte de eso, dinero actual.
All right. I'd love for you all to mute yourselves as you're coming in. Excuse my dog barking. Of course, she starts barking as soon as the webinar starts. While we're waiting for everyone to join us, I would love for you to just go ahead into the chat and put your name and where you're from maybe, and then what your main struggle is with inverts. I've gotten a lot of emails from y'all, so I have a basic idea of what's going on, but maybe we can share with each other and just sort of say in the chat who we are, where we're from, and then you know, what we think our main struggle is. All right. And make sure you mute yourselves because we get really weird feedback. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. When everybody is on at the same time. I'm just going to keep letting everyone in. I have a lot of people today. I'm really super excited about this, and I'm so excited to help you all with your inverts. Let's see what's going on in the chat. All right, we've got Egypt in the house, Spain, Germany, Berlin. Hi, Sylvia. Cassandra from Montreal, Jessica from San Francisco. Wow, this is great. We are all over the world. Canada, New York City in the house. Hi, Alico. Cambridge, UK. Frederica from Italy. We're here from London. I love this. San Diego, California. Love San Diego. Here. Hand placement with inverts. Yeah, we're going to talk about all that. Philadelphia in the house. Philly people. Loving this. Let me see who else is in the waiting room. Let's let them all in. Admit, they're all coming in. I'm going to get started in just a second. I love hearing from you all. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So as we're going through, if you have questions, you can raise your virtual hand or you can turn on your mic and ask a question. If you're raising your virtual hand, I might have a little bit of a harder time seeing that because there's so many of us on the screen right now, but we'll make it happen. And you can always feel free to just kind of yell out, hey, I got a question. Admit all. All right, let's go. All righty. Here we go. All right, so welcome to the Trouble with Inverts. I'm Fran, Body by Fran Training. If you don't know me already, I am the owner and head trainer of Body by Fran Training, and my goal is to help pole dancers just like you get stronger for pole, last longer in this activity that we love, and avoid injury as much as possible, right? I'd love for you all to gain more confidence, especially in your inverts. And the reason that I decided to do this webinar is because inverts seem to be the biggest struggle that people have. And there are some great exercises and things that you can do, but if you don't understand why you personally are unable to get your butt up over yourself, some of those exercises you might be doing in vain, right? So we are going to go over a lot of this stuff. I'm going to try to mute everybody, mute all. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so just let me say to begin that this is not a workout. This is a diagnostic to get you started on understanding where you are in your invert journey, whether that's just getting your basic invert to the pole, your chopper invert, or an aerial invert. I'm not going to be talking about shoulder mount or handsprings. A few people have asked for that, but that's a totally different thing. We're talking about getting yourself upside down in that invert grip. So we're not going to be doing any exercises. We're just going to be discussing some of those exercises and what can be done for certain issues or troubles with inverting. For those of you that can take that information and go and use the exercises, I have a ton on my page. That's wonderful, and I hope that you are able to do that and get very much out of this this webinar, enough to get your butt up over your head. But for those of you that maybe won't be able to do that, let me just get these people in and want to continue on training with me. I'm going to be offering on Monday my Inverts Lab program. I'm having a flash sale on it, and I'm going to offer that to you for over 50% off. So I'll talk a little bit about that later, but no big deal. It's just an option. You don't need to do it. No pressure. If you can do this on your own, I'm so happy for you. And for those of you that are instructors out there, if you can take this information to your students and be able to diagnose them and what their struggles are, and then assign the exercises that they need to strengthen, you're going to have a lot more confident students in your class. That's what I do in my PSCS certification, as I teach instructors how to sort of diagnose these issues that we're going to look at today. All right, so a couple of things that have come up when you all emailed me about what your personal struggles are with things like engagement. Oh my, people are still coming in. Sorry about that. There we go. Engagement, inverting without that little jump or kick or bounce, as some of you have called it, the hip tuck and the tilt back, right? So that's a struggle for a lot of people. Extending the arms, extending the legs in a chopper is another one that a few people have struggled with. And then a few of y'all were looking at spinning inverts and aerial inverts, which are, totally different animals. So we'll talk a little bit about those, and then we'll go from there. So I'm here with my little whiteboard, not whiteboard, my little 3M notepad, because I don't know if you all know this or not, but I was a high school teacher for 15 years, and I love teaching and I love these things. So I'm bringing it a little closer. Don't worry if you can't really see it. I'm going to talk about what everything says anyway. So this is the trouble with inverts. And there are two main issues that I find with people when they are starting their invert journey. What do we have here? Hello, Emily. The first one is capacity, and the second is coordination. So let's talk about those two things individually. Please mute yourselves. Capacity means, are you strong enough to get up into the invert? Are you mobile or flexible enough to do the invert? And body dimensions, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. The size, length of your arms and legs, torso length, hip size, all of those kind of things. They do play a role. Jumping and kicking are usually strength issues. So if you're a jumper or a kicker, it usually means that you need to build a little bit of strength. So for those of you that can invert on the floor, but then struggle to get up in the air, it's probably because there's a little jump or a kick there. Coordination, on the other hand, encompasses technique. So maybe your technique is a little bit off. And also fear, right? So being afraid of tilting backwards. I'm sure a lot of us have that little fear of going upside down and tilting backwards, right? And then engagement or squeezing or understanding muscle engagement. A lot of you said that to me, that I don't understand what muscles are working. And that's so valid, because when I started pole dancing, I was a bodybuilder. I knew muscle engagement, but I didn't know how to use it on the pole. So I just used a lot of biceps and shoulders. And I got a lot of injuries from that because I didn't really understand the engagement. So if you are that person, don't feel bad about that. It's very easy to learn. And there are some great exercises that can really help you get that engagement. And I'll talk about those a little bit later as it relates to Inverts Lab. Strength struggles. There's a couple of strength struggles that we're going to be looking at. Upper body versus lower body dimensions. So if you tend to be a little bigger on the bottom and smaller on the top, and you don't exercise much, you don't lift weights, your upper body is going to need to be a little bit stronger to pick up that lower body and get it upside down. It's just a fact, right? When we see a lot of high-level professional pole athletes tend to have more of a gymnast physique where their shoulders are wider than their hips, and you can look at the nice broad back and tiny narrow hips and more narrow thighs as well. That looks a little bit more masculine, and when we see our men polars, they tend to get upside down a lot easier as well because their center of gravity is higher. So as ladies who have hips and beautiful juicy booties and lovely thighs, it's harder to get them up because our upper body mass is less than our lower body mass. Right? It doesn't mean you have to lose weight. It's silly. It just means you might have to work a little harder to get stronger, or maybe work on some alternate invert ways until that strength is built up. Really important for muscle engagement are the pecs, which are these right here, the lats, which are your big wings back here, and these little finger muscles under your armpits called the serratus. So if you like pull downward, you can feel those muscles underneath your armpit. And these three muscles are key to everything in pole, but especially inverts. If you can get those muscles to coordinate together and engage, it'll make the invert a lot easier, but it won't happen overnight, right? Of course, we've got the abs, the hip flexors, and the quadriceps involved in that strengthening and the lift as well, right? So a lot of people will say, you just need to strengthen your core. And then we spend a million hours doing crunches or leg lifts, and then it doesn't work, right? I still can't get up. It's a combination of the strength between the upper and lower body and coordinating that muscle engagement all together. Now, there's another thing that we need to talk about when we're talking about capacity, and that's your mobility and or flexibility. Now, when I first started doing choppers way back when, my hamstrings were not very open. And so my choppers looked a little weird. My back was rounded, my legs were way up high, right? So a few of you said that my back is really rounded and I can't straighten my legs. And that might be a hamstring flexibility issue. That could be tight hamstrings, tight lower back. It could be sciatic nerve issues. So you'll need to figure out what's going on if that's your struggle, right? Also the hips. So hamstrings for the straddles and the choppers, and hips in bringing the knees up and opening those hips outward in the straddle, right? You can't see my hips, I'm moving around, but you can't see me. Building the strength and flexibility takes time. And I think that's where the problem is. And, you know, I'll be honest, a lot of people signed up for this, and a lot of people emailed me and said, I'm so excited to finally get my invert. I'm going to get all the information I need. You're going to get the information you need for sure, but it's going to take time. So when I run my inverts program, it's 4 weeks. 4 weeks with systematic training to help strengthen, right? So it could be as little as 4 weeks, or it could be more than that, to build that strength, to open up the body enough to get into the chopper position, all of the above. And now, if you're hoping to take your floor invert to an aerial invert, you're going to have to build the strength to do the floor invert without the jump or the hop first. Right? Otherwise, it's not going to happen. All righty. All right, so when we're talking technique, as I said before, we need to coordinate 3 things: the lift up, the tuck, bring the knees into the chest, and the tilt back. So that's a lot to think about, right? And if we're not gymnasts, if we're not dancers, if we don't do parkour or we don't do any other sport, coordinating the muscles to work together to lift, tuck, and tilt is going to be challenging. So you may have the strength, you may have the flexibility, but you might not have that coordination to get everything working together. Does that make sense? I'm going to come in and put you all on. Let's see. Let me see if I can get a view of everybody. Gallery view. If your face is here, show hands if that makes sense so I can see that. Yeah. All right. Good. Yay. Awesome sauce. All right. I don't see anybody with a hand up either. I don't think. Let me just go through and make sure nobody has questions. Okay. All right. Up, hands up. All right, let's see. We have Van. Question, Van? You want to unmute yourself? Just going by the names that are on here. Van, no? Okay, some hands are up. Nobody, have we taken our hands down? Everybody's taking their hands down? Okay. It wasn't a real question, just kidding. Oh, you put your hand up to say me. Ah, I get it. All right, now I get it. All right. So we know that building the strength takes time. Don't laugh at my little picture here. I don't know if you can see this, but we have to go from this lifting the knees up to the chest, right? Tucking the pelvis and tilting back and straightening the arms. And that's a struggle. So what can we do about these things? Well, first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about that engagement and the upper body. So I'm going to move us away from my little board here, and we'll come back to that later. And we're going to go over to the pole. You don't need your pole. If you want to have your pole there and you want to show me what you're doing, we'll absolutely have time for that afterwards, for questions and for diagnostics, personal diagnostics. Okay, so I'm just going to move this stuff so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Back it up, back it up, back it up. All right. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the engagement, and I'll move so I'm not in front of the black mat. Like that, okay. So y'all can see. Do y'all have pole studios? Space at home, we have to move everything around. I feel like I'm always moving everything around. All right, so the upper body engagement, pecs, lats, serratus. So the pecs are responsible for pushing and pulling the arms across the body. And you can actually see, you know, that bodybuilder in me, most muscular pose, right? The pecs working. The lats are down in here, and they're responsible for pulling downward, pulling the elbows behind you. Right. And then this serratus finger muscle, which helps to combine those two, helps move through the waistline, right? And engages and keeps everything out of the shoulder joint itself. So our first look at how to invert is we're going to take that hip slightly in front of the pole. Don't start here. I see people do this all the time, and that's a really weird way to start, because now your torso is turned. I want to be facing pole, and I'm going to bring that inside arm straight across. Now, I see this a lot. This tends to be where people start. This is not going to help you, because in this position, and if you want to get near your pole and try it, you cannot squeeze the pecs, lats, and serratus. So by bringing the arm across the pole, I now squeeze, bringing that arm straight across using the pecs. In, grab the pole and pull the elbow downward, shoulder drops away from the ear. The other hand comes right on top of that one and does the same thing. So it's not out here, it's not out here. It's pulling in and down, directing downward. With that comes the lift. So if that is a challenge, if you can't do that without doing a kick, that's where the work is. That's where you need to be, right? learning to get those muscles to coordinate together. Now, in all of my programs, I have 3 staples exercises that I love that help really get your mind into these muscles and create that mind-muscle connection that facilitates engagement. And they are block lifts, pullover crunches, and serratus saws. There are a million of them that you can do. So if you're looking for exercises for this area, look at exercises for the serratus. Okay, that'll help a lot. But again, Inverts Lab has all of that stuff. All of my warm-ups, I include that work for myself and for all of my clients because it helps get that mind-muscle connection. It's going to help you with your handsprings and your shoulder mounts and everything. Just really getting that sort of in and down type of movement. Okay. So someone had said that they were having a really hard time, that they were rounding too much. And rounding too much is probably, I mean, I haven't seen it, but it probably means that you're kind of hunkering down a little bit low, but I'd have to see that. So if you're here, if you're the one person who said to me that your upper body rounds too much in the invert and you can't open up when you get there, let me know, we'll talk about that. So when you see the chopper invert, I squeeze, I pull in and down, and I come upside down, my arms are extended, and I can drop my hips a bit, but see this leg is dropping downward, right? That's a pike, straddle pike position. So if your legs don't straighten, that's the hammies there, right? All right, so yes, moving on now, we're going from the upper body strength into the lower body, right? So that's the lift. Now we're going to go into the tuck. I'm going to come across the other side, just get a little balance training. Squeeze in, I've got my lift. And now from here, I'm tucking the knees up. So if you're starting any of your pull moves, like handsprings or shoulder mount or anything where you're getting upside down, and you've got a very hard anterior pelvic tilt, it's going to be harder to roll through to the tuck that you need. Can you see that difference? Tilt, tuck. This is not bad. A lot of people have a normal anterior pelvic tilt, right? Nothing wrong with it. It's just going to be harder to start an inversion movement from that position. So when I come in for my invert, I really want to pull my abs in, pull the pubic bone up towards the belly button, and pull up on the pelvic floor. Pelvic floor is the bottom of you. So if you have a hard time engaging in that area, think about someone coming up to you and kicking you right in the crotch. Right? That's the movement you're doing. The squeeze up. Up and in is what's going to help you lift. Pec lat serratus lift. Lower abs transverse, pelvic floor, hip flexors, quads tuck, right? So if I come from here, it's a lot harder to roll up and through, okay? Boom, boom. See this position? Are you starting your invert in this position? Probably not, right? A lot of us are starting our invert from this, right? Starting from here and pulling in, kicking. Why is that bad? I can kick into an invert, absolutely. But when I grab the pole, I'm already here and engaged. So it's not wrong to kick into an invert if you have the muscle engagement. But if you don't, and you're kicking up and catching a foot, when you get up there, your body is hanging in your arms and nothing is engaged. That's how you set yourself up for pulls and all the little muscles in the rib cage, to straining the back, all those things that can happen. And I've seen it over and over again with newbie inverters who are jumping into their invert. And people will say, well, what's the big deal? It's no big deal. I just jump. But that jumping without engagement can really lead to serious injury. And then you're off the pole. And instructors, we don't want our students off the pole. We want them in class with us. right? We want them succeeding and excelling. All right, so the final piece to that, we've got the lift, we've got the tuck. Now it's the tilt. So the tilt is actually this happening. Yeah, the tilt, right? So we have to extend the arm. And a lot of instructors, I remember when I started inverting, they'd say, just look at the wall behind you. Just look at the wall. Just look at the wall. And then like this. Looking at the wall may not be the best cue for a lot of people. So let's break that down. Here's what's happening with the arms, right? I am coming backwards and then looking at the wall. So there's a trust issue that's going on there with trusting yourself to hang in those arms. So you're strong enough to lift. You're strong enough to tuck. Now, see how that happens? There has to be a trust there. Same thing if you're going up and catching the foot. Lift, tuck, foot. See how I'm extended? Yeah. So your three main components are lifting yourself up, tucking, and tilting back. All right, let's take a look at everyone here. Maybe you want to jump in. Let's jump into the chat and say what we think our problem is. Is it the lift, the tuck, the tilt, or all of the above? I'd love to see what y'all have to say. Tuck, awesome. Tilt, 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 all of the above. Lift, all but a bit more with tuck. All tilt, tilt. Tilt, keeping the tuck. Keeping the lift and tuck in place. Yes, absolutely. So we can really see lift to get the hips up higher. All right, so the lift is not going to get your hips up higher. The lift is just to get you engaged in the upper body. Hips are going to go up higher by using a fulcrum and dropping back. So work the lift until you can hold yourself up there. Probably all, let me see. Tilt and extended arms. Right, strength and pulling up. Do you think having short arms makes the tilt harder? No, I think it makes it easier, honestly. Longer arms, you've got a lot longer way to go to open up. Right? So you're going to be going all the way down to that full extension. Shorter arms really only play a role in things like thread throughs, right? Phoenix, I had a conversation with one of my students and one of my Pole Strong master trainers who's working on Phoenix and is also teaching it. And she's got definitely shorter arms compared to her body. So, you know, trying to get around without hitting your head is hard. So short arms are great for strength work. Not so much for thread through kind of thing. So that lift and the tilt should be easier with shorter arms. Should be, but hey, you know, if you're struggling with it, it's an issue, right? So I'm not poo-pooing that at all. Let's see, when my arms extend, everything just goes down rather than tilting. Keep the tuck, but I totally lose the lift. Yeah, and that's going to be a fulcrum thing. So I think what is this, Vicky? What Vicky is saying is that when she goes up, she loses and goes down here, right? So there has to be that. So as you're pulling, you're driving those hips up. So where does that strength come from? Abdominals and hip flexors, right? Yeah. Let's see what else we have. I feel like I don't know how to lift without kicking, even just doing knee tucks. Plus, I rely too much on my armpit grip, I think. All right, so. Yeah, and we've got a smaller upper body and a larger lower body issue too. Yeah, so what that means, if you're kicking It means that you're not strong enough yet for enough of that lift. So when we take this, so here's your cue, right? So you can do your invert, you kick up, and you're in, yay. But as soon as you come up here, you're struggling, right? I'm up in the air. That means that the upper body is not yet strong enough to hold you up. So if you can't do tucks yet, do them one knee at a time. But hang on, engage, squeeze the upper body, pull down on the pole. Don't just stand there. Because I think that's what a lot of people end up doing with their pole crunches. I can't lift myself up. I can't lift my feet. Because there's nothing going on here. So your start might be even just pulling from heels to toes. So I'll show you this down to the floor. So for those of you that are having trouble with the tuck, my upper body's engaged, and I'm giving myself a little lift to help get up and strengthen that upper body. All right, let's see. When I get my knees up and go to tilt, I can't seem to get my back as down, and then my legs don't get high. But I get the pull in my squishy bit. Fury, what's a squishy bit? Fury, you want to come on and talk to me about what the squishy bit is? Anybody? Fury? No. Anybody know what a squishy bit is? Excuse me. I think it might be a British thing.
It's basically, you know, where your ribs are, with that squishy bit in between.
Where what? I didn't quite hear that. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm on the train. You know, like when you do, say, like in a leg break, you feel like you're about to crush your kidney. It's that squishy bit where you do your outside leg hack. It's basically below your ribs.
Oh, so right here, the squishy bit. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you for clearing that up for me, because I really didn't know. All right, let's get back to where you were with your squishy bit. How do I get back up there? Let's see. Okay. When I get my knees up and I go to tilt, I can't seem to get my back as down, and then my legs don't get high, but I get the pull in my squishy bit. Oh, so you're in your lower back. Yeah, that means that the hips have to come up higher, because the pull you want to be right at your rib cage here, pretty much, depending on your torso length and your arm length, right? So I'm a short person, so mine is there. But down here in the squishy bit is going to be way too far down, right? Let's see. Message. What do we have an image? Who's given the image? What's the image? Click to open. Well, that's a nice picture. It's a very nice chopper. Who is that? Jay Fabian, really nice chopper.
But I just struggle to get the hips like closer to the pole, because like you can see where like my body's like straight and flat, where I think it would look better if it was like horizontal, I guess.
I think you need to just rock back a little bit more.
Yeah,
The hips,
my arms are like fully extended there already, and like my arms are just, I guess, like really short, so that's like already my arm like fully extended. So I don't know if I'm like doing something wrong when it comes to the tilt.
it looks like you're in your waistline more than here. So if you can hang on a little bit tighter when you go up, let me see if I can demo that for you. So when you're in that chopper, you're down here.
Yes, yeah.
Right? We need to be in and holding here very, very tight, so that when you come up and then extend, I'm still at the rib cage. So see if my hips went up over?
Yeah.
You want your head downward.
So when you're upside down, is the pole still in between your armpit and your side?
It is, but it's
And
like,
you're squeezing still, like that's the I guess like the point of contact for the pole.
there is a contact point there, yes, but you're not squeezing as hard as you are in the beginning,
Okay.
right? Because now you've tilted back
Mhm.
and you're hanging from the arms, and if you've got the positioning right, you don't need to be that tight in the armpit anymore.
Okay.
But once you come back, I'll do the other side because I'm getting tired. So once you come back, I need to come back up into that armpit, right?
Mhm.
And be bent and tight and engaged again, coming back.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
All right, let me get my glasses again, see what some of the other. Sometimes I have my pain in my back after I come up. Yeah, Beth, absolutely. Anyone else pain in their mid to upper back when they're trying to come back out of them? Really common. That means that there are other muscles at play here that aren't really supposed to be controlling that movement. So if we can get those pec lats and serratus to really engage, you won't feel that here. A lot of times we let go and then we're using the muscles in the upper back to hold us onto the pole. Okay, so if I squeeze my shoulder blades together and extend my arm, there's nowhere for this to go. It really needs to be here. Can you see that difference? Right? You don't want to be locked back with your shoulder blade in. It's going to be extended slightly forward. And you're going to come from that rounded, extended, right? And pull with the biceps up and in. Right? So it means that something is not engaged properly. So how do you diagnose that? You really have to have someone look at the full range of motion and see what the body positioning is. I could be totally wrong. You may not be flattening your back. You may just not be squeezing, right? So you really need to see that to see exactly what's going on with that. I hear in regards to the lift, push the pole down a lot. I don't really understand what it means. I've never heard push the pole down. Pull, it's a pulling movement. You can't push from this position. It's a pull. So wherever you are, you're gonna grab, pull in and down. Ooh. Right, you're pulling, it's a pull-up. Yeah, an invert is a pull-up. Right? Did we think of that? So can you do a pull-up? If you cannot do a pole pull-up, it's gonna be a struggle to do an invert. Now I know there's people out there that I can't do a pole pull-up and I can do a handspring and I can do an invert and I can do a shoulder mount. Yes, some people can, but the generality is if you cannot get your feet off the floor in a pole pull-up, then you're probably going to struggle with lifting your body up in the invert. It just makes sense, right? It's a very similar movement. It's a pull, right? It doesn't mean that's the hard, fast rule. Can we see your back in the pull-up? In the pull-up or just the tuck? I mean, the lift, Rhonda. Do you want like a full pull-up or do you want the lift? Okay, yes. Could you see? Was that okay? Been working on my pull-ups. Yay! Adriana is working on the pull-ups. How do I hold the chopper? Well, holding the chopper is going to happen once you get in the position, just as, and I'm sorry, I just see Jay Fabian here. I don't know your first name, darling, but as Jay Fabian had showed, right, that flat back with the pole in the waist is not going to let you hold it for very long. So there has to be that little bit from here of a tilt. Once that happens, the chopper should happen. as long as you've got enough mobility, flexibility to drop those legs back, right? So if you're not mobile enough, your chopper, this is how mine looked when I first started. I was like here and here, right? And now I can drop it down. So there is going to be a grip component, an upper body strength component, and there's also a leverage component to that. Right? Are we starting to see that the basic invert isn't so basic? Thinking one big problem is ab engagement. I do well in ab training. Nothing seems to really make them activate when I'm trying to invert. Center of gravity, hand placement matter. Hand placement, I'll get back to the abs there. Hand placement. Every body is different, right? I don't like it at my face because that makes my elbow tuck down. And I do see a lot of instructors teach this. But instructors that come from a strength and conditioning background, like myself, like my partner, Stacy Shapiro, who does pull retreats with me, we come at it from the easiest way to engage the muscles, and that's pulling straight across the pole, boom. So my hand is higher than my face, is that about my head? That's what works best for engaging, being able to draw in and downward for the lift. So when I lift, my elbow is going to end up a little bit lower. But if I start here, where do I go? There's nowhere for me to lift to. Does that make sense? Straight across, pull in and down, and lift up. Okay, as far as the abs, that's going to be that tuck tilt. Again, crunches and ab work may not work that much. It really needs to be figuring out how to get this natural girdle that we have, the transverse abdominis, and everybody can put their fingers on there now if they want to. And now take that and tighten it. There's no crunches in the world that will make this get stronger. These muscle fibers run across here. So it's a girdle, right? You've heard of a girdle? Squeezes us in. It's your natural girdle, squeeze in. Along with that, lifting up the pelvic floor in. Do not squeeze your glutes to make that happen. So if you're coming up and trying to use your glutes a lot in your reverse crunches, you're leaving out that really important transverse and you're using a much bigger muscle group. So you can pull that in and down, and you can work on that in your car, pelvic floor, lower abs. Pelvic floor, lower abs. You can do it in bridges on the floor. That's going to be what helps build that strength a little better. And again, as I said before, it takes time. Yes, this makes sense. I'll try this. Yay. This is really speaking to my strength part. Oh, Tanya, I love that. What do we squeeze? What was that? Lost that one. What do we squeeze to leverage the bum up? Everything. Everything. So, yeah. So, if you've got a big old juicy peachy ass, excuse my French, right? Nothing wrong with that. It's lovely, but it's going to be harder to get it up and over. So it's going to be that upper body engagement, that pelvic tilt, that hip flexor drive and extension, coordination of all those muscles. And it's the kind of thing that's going to need to be built gradually, right? Don't expect to build that kind of strength overnight. I come from a huge bodybuilding background, and I did, bodybuilding competitions for years, figure, bikini, women's fitness, all of that. And it was all about proportions. Now, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but now they actually have a division for juicy asses, and it's called the wellness division. It's for those ladies that just have those big, beautiful thighs and booty, and their shoulders are never going to be that wide. So in order to balance that physique out, you'd have to have shoulders like a huge male bodybuilder to balance out that big hip. So now that division is a thing, because we all like to have nice big booty and thighs. It's wonderful, but it does make it harder to get upside down. So you'll have to build that upper body strength gradually. Now, let's talk a little bit about technique now. Can you kick into your invert once you've gotten your muscle engagement? Yes. Yes. So once you feel that you can actually lift your body up, right? You can do this and hold it. It's great. You can do some tucks. You're feeling good about it. Come in with a little, I'm going to do it on this side because this one's stronger. Come in with a little bit of a kick. Engaged, pulling in and down, kick. So I'm never away from the pole and running into it. I'm in and engaged. I've started with a pull and I give a little momentum with the outside leg. Right? So for those of us that are a little bit bigger in the lower body, once you start getting that engagement, you can absolutely do the little kick. You can add a resistance band to your outside leg as well to help you build that strength. That's like a spotter for you, right? So you're doing bicep curls. It's my bodybuilding, right? And I get to about here on my second to last rep, and my husband comes over and hits the bar up. That's what that is. Putting that band around your butt can help you kick up and take a little bit of that lower body weight away as you start to train. Will it behoove you to lift weights? Yes. Just saying. I know not everybody likes to and feel like I'm bulky enough from pole and my shoulders are big, and they won't get much bigger from lifting, to be honest with you. You're lifting your body weight over and over and over again. Taking some 10-pound dumbbells isn't going to make you Arnold Schwarzenegger anytime soon, right? So add some weight training to your program. It's absolutely a fabulous way to build strength. That's an understanding. What do we squeeze? Yes, also my question. Yeah.
So can I maybe ask,
Yeah.
like what kind of, I'm really struggling to find what kind of the pull exercises will help with that pull, because I've been trying a whole lot and they don't seem to be working. Do you have any specific recommendations?
For exercises? Yes, there are a host of exercises, like free stuff all over my page, right? I've got all kinds of Wednesday workouts and things like that. All of those exercises are outlined in Inverts Lab, however, in an order that helps to facilitate that. So yes, there are a lot of them. You can do one-arm pull-ups. You can do lying straddle invert drills. You can do lying leg hang drills. There's a bunch of things that can be done to do that. And I do have a bunch of that free stuff on my page. And I also, on my YouTube channel, have something called the Inverts Conditioning Tutorial that has 3 free exercises for if you would all like to go and check those out. You're welcome. Welcome. Let's unpin, remove pin. All right. All right. So do we have any other question? I know there's a lot in that chat. So if you have a question, I would love for you to just turn on your mic and talk. I think that would be fabulous while I set up over here again.
Excuse me. I have a question about hip placement.
Yes. Is that Liz talking to me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Liz.
I was taught before to like start with your hips in front of the pole.
Yeah.
Is it easier to start? Is that correct? Or is it easier to start to the side?
I personally always teach that little bit of a start from right about here. So I'm not totally in front of the pole, because for me, getting that arm, and I'm going to turn you to see the pole one more time. So we get real behind the scenes here of my room. So lighting might not be the best, but let's see if we can't get this to happen. So if I start here, hip in front of the pole, which I've seen a lot, I've got to do this and come around. And now it's really hard for me to squeeze this arm in and down because I'm not mobile enough for this, right? Some people are, and that's fine. What this also does, though, is causes me to arch my lower back, and it's harder to start in the pelvic tilt. So I always invite my students to bring that little indent on the side of your hip,
Yeah.
back to the pole. So then that way the arm can come around, you can really engage and pull in and down. And then you're still in front of the pole enough that you're not going to block your way by trying to come up and upside down, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of awkward because I kind of have a big butt. So it is kind of awkward to kind of like wrap my arm around that way.
Right? And then do you find your lower back arches a little bit when you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not wrong. Please, please, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Everybody's got a different way of teaching things, and people teach things that work for them. So I worked in a studio where they only taught handsprings from this position, and you had to kick with your chest up. I could never do that. My shoulders are not open enough. I just couldn't get that bottom arm strength from there. Did I tell my students it was wrong? No, I offered them an alternative and told them to use whichever one worked for them, right? So same thing here. Some people may have that mobility and may be able to get their body into that position, but I personally find with myself and a majority of my students that getting in that soft spot of the hip there on the side is really going to be the best way to engage and be able to get that pelvic tilt and lift up and build that strength. That makes sense?
Yes. Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Other questions?
Yes, Fran, I have a question.
Yes.
So, hi, how are you? Thank you for this. It's excellent, by the way.
You're welcome.
Is it normal that you get pain in this area from inverting? Because I get like in my ribs, it's a little bit sore every time I try too much. Is there something I'm doing wrong?
Let me just pin you. Show me where you're feeling it. Yeah, no, you shouldn't have pain there, my darling.
So I
Pain
don't
is
know
always
what
indication that something's
here,
wrong. Are you
yeah.
near your pole? Do you want to show me what you're doing?
Yeah, sure.
Do you mind that you'll be on the video?
No, not at all.
I just don't want people to feel weird. when The video goes out, they're like, oh, that's me. Look at me, dorky old lady.
The issue is I cannot hold my chopper.
Okay,
Let me show you. Do you see well there?
yes. Good adjustment of the inside arm. I love that. Squeeze in and down, beautiful. So see, there was that little bit of a hop there, right? I would love for you to not do that. Do just a slight kick up and bring your foot to the pole. Try not to chopper until you've got the strength to lift it all the way up. A little kick. That was a jump. Did you all see that? Did you see that was a whoop, right? We don't want to whoop, come up. Did you feel that in your rib cage when you did the jump?
Probably that's the jump that you're talking about, that it's making this, right?
Yes.
I'm trying not to as much as I can, but it's just like
It's a habit, yes. Good,
yeah,
good. That's it. That's the work. So now as you do that, straighten your arms. So as you bring your knees up, straighten your arms and extend your body, your shoulders back towards your mirror there. No jump. Yeah,
I dropped.
yeah, you dropped
Yeah.
a little. Try not to go right for the chopper though. That's a hard hold. Try to go up and hook a leg. Right, so we all want to do the chopper, but sometimes we're not really strong enough for it. Chopper is an advanced move. Yes, there it is. How'd your rib cage feel?
See, a little bit it hurts, but
A
not
little.
like it's like the pole is almost like here.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, you're upside down now, so that's where the pole should be. So I believe what's happening is you irritate that every time you jump. So they want to let that rest a little bit and then come in and just work on that strength. Right now, I know that we don't want to regress, right? So we don't want to be going backwards and say, well, I can jump and I can get in my invert. I do that little bounce and it's fine. And then you have to regress, right? To go back to train it without the hop. Do that. And you can still add that little bounce when you need to get upside down. As long as you're not hurting yourself, Ruth. If you're feeling that pain, stop the jump altogether. Because what's usually happening is you get upside down and then the muscles engage and it's too much weight to engage with your full body weight on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's basically here, like right here under the boob. So I don't know. Sometimes it happens, other times maybe when I do too many inverts, then it starts hurting.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it can
Thank-
also be, you have to think about pressure too. Sometimes the pressure against the pole can cause some pain. So we want to know if that's a muscle issue or a pressure issue, right?
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
You're welcome. All right.
I have
Any
a
other
question.
questions? Yes.
I have a question about my hands, not the placement of it. I think I have that under control, but as I move throughout the movement, they like loosen up and I lose my grip.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. So then I can't pull my hips up to go into like an outside leg hook or anything like that.
Right. Grip
So
strength.
how are they supposed to be?
They're just supposed to grab, right? So that's grip strength. Right. So hang on one second. Let me show you something. This is my very favorite little tool from Fitness Gear, and I got it for free when I ordered some bands or something. Yeah, dry hands, yeah. Using grip aid is fine, but I am not a proponent of using grip aid to sacrifice strength, right? So I use grip aid when I condition all the time because I want to get stronger. But if I'm doing a routine, I want to build my grip strength, right? So these
Right.
things, squeezing.
I guess that might be some of the problem, but I do a lot of those things. It's more of like, I don't understand if I'm over rotating.
Well, you might be,
around.
you'd have to show me. I don't have any idea to, what's going on unless I see it. So let's see it. How about that? Wait, let me pin you so I can really see it and not have to stare at
Is this a
this.
good angle?
Can you just drop your camera just a hair? So I can get your body into it too. Yeah, good, good. Yeah. Yeah, so what happened is you just turned your wrist just a bit, right? So you did one of these. And when you did that, you sort of open it up. So now it can pull away. So you may just want to keep them.
Keep it.
What's the squeezer's name? Let me say it's by Fitness Gear. But anyway, so it opened up. So you rotated your wrist. Try
Yeah.
not to do that. Try to just keep it straight. I know it's going to feel like it's bent a little bit, but you don't want to open here. As soon as you open here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, try it again without letting those wrists rotate. Better? It looked pretty good.
I really struggle with the booty up into the outside leg hook, but that is not today's topic.
Yeah, well, remember too, that when you're trying to drive those hips up, there's more pulling force coming down on the arms, right? So your grip strength is going to need to be that much stronger. So just make sure that you're not rotating and pulling away, right? So that you set yourself up for a nice strong grip, and then you build the strength for the drive up. So
Okay. Yep.
it looks like that's really all that it was, is that you got upside down and you went eat and then fell off.
Okay. Thank you.
Fran, what about sliding? So I was able to finally get myself up by using that adjustment, that arm adjustment that you made. That was really key for me.
Okay,
But
good.
now once I get up, I can hang out for a little while. I can't seem to tilt back and get my booty up because I just start sliding down.
All right, let's look at it. Want to share it?
Please,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. It looks like it could be a slippery pole grip issue, right? Because
Mhm.
it's sliding from here.
right.
That's
Mhm.
not that your grip was off, right?
Okay.
So tack up, dry off the pole, right? And keep working on that until that's strong enough that you're not sliding, right?
Okay.
That's all it
Okay.
looks like. It doesn't look like a strength issue. And now you just have to work on building the lower body strength to get those hips up. That looked really nice.
And what would you suggest? Just constantly doing that? Like just
any,
pull-ups?
pull crunches, lying drills on the floor, hip lifts, leg hang drills on the floor, all that kind of thing.
Okay, okay,
I got a
thanks.
ton of it on my page. All right, Vicky?
Right, so I feel like probably better to stand up and show in a moment, but I have such a natural curve in
There you
my
are.
Oh,
Let me
yeah,
just
sorry.
find you. Sorry, I couldn't find you. All right.
So
Go
I
ahead.
find I've got such a big curve, natural curve in my lower back that when I'm in the position, I find it impossible to try and actually tuck in. No matter what position I get myself in, I've still got this massive curve that's pushing my bum out, which makes it really difficult to then bring it up.
Back in, yeah. And I bet your butt looks cute when it's like that, though, just saying. All right, go ahead and show me. Let's see what's going on, if you don't mind.
I've only got my laptop on the floor, so hopefully the angle will be okay.
That's fine.
So even when I try to engage, it's still, there's a proper tilt in there, and I find
Yeah.
that actually.
So can you, yeah, there you go. Do that and start from there. And now just lift. Squeeze those arms across the pole and pull down and lift your body. Yep, there it is. And that's it. So that's the strength that you have to build, right? Right in there.
Drop down a bit to get the
Yep.
tilt quite a lot higher as a result.
Yeah, you have to start a little bit lower, I think, just to accommodate, but then you can, once that's normally, once that's your neutral set when you start. Yeah, it did look nice, didn't it? Once that's your neutral set, that'll be easy and you won't have to lower yourself down so much. But that was really good. That's where the work is. So y'all, where it feels hard, that's the work you need to do. So sorry to say that. So sorry to say that. So let me just share one more thing with you. And then if we still have a couple of questions, I have a little bit of time to answer that. So I just want to share a little bit of how to fix your issues. Now, you don't have to do it with Inverts Lab, but with my Pole Strong method of training, I've come up with my 3T system. And I use this for everything. All of my posts on Instagram, everything you see is 3T. Targeted warm-ups that prepare you for your inverts. So getting the pec slat serratus warm, getting the abdominals and hip flexors warm, the transverse, getting that tuck tilt happening. And then doing your trick specific strength and conditioning. So if you need to work the lift, you're working those lift exercises. If you need to work that pelvic tuck, then we do those exercises or a combination of them. And then going into working technique. So targeted warm-ups, trick-specific strength and conditioning, and then technique on top of it. And that's how you begin to build your strength for any trick, especially inverts. So for those of you that do think you may want to go on with me, training with me, on Monday, I'm going to give you a really special offer on Inverts Lab, specifically for you. And don't feel bad. If you don't want it, it's fine. No hard feelings. But for those of you that do, it's my most popular program and it goes through all of this. And like I said before, 4 weeks, in as short as 4 weeks, you can be inverting. Now, aerial and spin, there is some aerial invert work in there as well. Inverts on spin, I'm sorry that I really didn't get to so much. Because the strength required for an aerial invert on spin pole or even an invert on spin pole is much higher. So let's get the basics first before we start worrying about the aerial invert on spin. So those of you that are watching at home and you requested that, if you can do the lift tuck tilt in the air, then you can begin to do it slowly on spin from the floor and then slowly on spin in the air, taking it very slowly. Don't jump into a big fast climb and trying to aerial invert because that pole is trying to throw you off of it. And it's going to require a lot more strength than you think to do that. So again, lift, tuck, tilt on the floor, lift, tuck, tilt in the air. Lift, tuck, tilt slowly on spin from the floor, either backwards or forwards, and then the same thing in the air, right? So aerial inverts and spinning inverts are not beginner. They're pretty challenging. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means, you know, we tend to think that that is a beginner thing, and it's really not. All right, I have a couple more minutes. I have my daughter visiting this week from New Jersey, and I'm so excited, and she'll be coming back home any second to hang with me. So any last minute questions or comments, please just unmute yourself and share them. I'll try to find you. Yeah, we're good. I really just want to thank everyone who shared their inverts with the group and who asked questions, and she's here.
Sorry, Fran.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your tips. I'm going to try them with the push and a pull, and I'll be joining your inverts labs. I haven't forgotten to do it. I've just been poorly.
Perfect, perfect. Please feel free to share your progress with me. You can message me on IG. You can tag me in posts on IG. I'd love to follow you and watch your invert journey. And you know, if you're interested, look out for those emails coming for the sale on Inverts Lab. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that you shared your time and your energy with me. And I hope that you got at least one takeaway from here.
I can ask one quick question.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have my upper abdominals are really strong. So I think that your takeaway is, at least in my mind for this part, is really strengthening the lower abs to get that lift. Because I can do all kinds of other stuff, but I think I'm engaging my upper abs.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that coordination of upper and lower, and I would bet that it has to do with the transverse a bit more than anything that you're doing crunch wise. So do your girdles when you're standing.
Okay.
We can really
Yep.
work on that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yay, yay. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Happy inverting. I appreciate you all coming. Bye.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.